Live Fit Podcast, episode 46, with an interview with an amazing and inspirational woman, Levi Query.
But I know every day I think, fool them another day. Honestly, I don't understand it either. I just feel how lucky I am. I've run one ultra, but I have run over 60 marathons.
Holy cow.
So there was a time in my life I was a little nuts.
What was your best time?
2:56.
You're listening to the Live Fit Podcast with Glenn Johnson. Here, we'll talk about all things related to good health, fitness, food, fat loss, and the mind-body connection.
Yes, it is time once again for the Live Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Johnson. I'd like to thank each one of you for listening, no matter what you're doing, riding a bike, running, walking, driving, or maybe sitting in front of your computer. I really appreciate you sharing your time with me. I've got a really great show today. I have an amazing and inspirational woman who is about to turn 70 years old share with us how she got into exercise and what it has done for her. But first, I'd like to share some information I recently read. There was a study in 2014 that determined obese people have a shorter lifespan by 9 years. Also, from America's Health Ranking, the 2014 edition, the people who live in Hawaii are the healthiest out of any state in the country. They have the lowest obesity, least amount of smoking, lowest cardiovascular disease, and cancer. Conversely, Mississippi takes the bottom spot with the highest amount of obesity, diabetes, other life-shortening ailments, and they also are the least physically active. Obesity rates have increased by 153% since 1990. More than 23% of adults are physically inactive. However, it is important to note that this has not increased or changed in the last 10 years. So we've leveled off. Let's see if we can bring that number down now. Also, a bit encouraging is diabetes rates have continued to increase for every year up until the last 3, and it's leveled off as well. Now, if you're wondering who is up there with Hawaii for the healthiest states, you have Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Utah. I would have thought a southern state would have had it like California. The bottom ranking states, in reverse order from the bottom on up, is Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. So let's see, you guys on the bottom, let's see if we can get you higher up off the list. My guest today is Levi Query. She is an amazing and inspirational woman. She's about to turn 70 years old. She's an avid runner and exercise advocate. She's run more than 60 marathons in her life and completed Cycle Oregon several times. She is a constant inspiration to her students at Portland Community College, where she is the PE department chair. She also happens to be the mother of Nate Query, who is the bassist for the band, the Decemberists. She went to college to become a math teacher, but ended up a PE teacher. Let's find out what happened. Hi, Levi. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I wanted to talk to you today because you are a vast wealth of information and knowledge, things I've heard you say about fitness and your ideas for how to keep people fit and how to keep them motivated. And you are an inspiration to all. You are coming up on, can I say how old?
Yeah.
You're coming up on 70 years of age in a couple of weeks.
Scary.
And I know that you could outrun me. That's why I've avoided running with you.
I doubt that.
And you're a huge inspiration to a lot of people. And I would like to start by telling our listeners kind of a brief bio of how you got into the health and fitness industry.
Okay. Well, I started out as a math major in college, but I took exercise physiology and at the time learned that the heart is a muscle. And so cardiovascular exercise makes your heart strong. And my father had a stroke and was like laying in a bed for 5 years with an active mind but a body that didn't work.
Wow.
So I started running. I had read Ken Cooper's book, Aerobics.
Right.
And it said to run a mile a day, so I started running a mile a day.
About what age were you at that point?
About 22. I was out of college. So I was sedentary really up until...
No kidding. You weren't an athlete or anything before then?
No, but I was, before they had sports for girls. But I did...
Title IX.
Yeah, I did have a lot of energy that got me in a lot of trouble because there was no outlet for it, so...
It's too bad you didn't have an outlet then.
I know.
So you started running because you didn't want to have health issues like your father did, right?
Yes, exactly. And then, let's see, then I went on to teach math, but I did get a PE minor. But I never, for 10 years, never ran more than a mile a day. And then I didn't start running more until I had my third child and was trying to lose weight, and a mile a day didn't seem to help. So I decided to run a marathon, and then I was hooked. And that hooked me in going back to school and getting my master's in exercise physiology.
So what benefits did you find from running a mile a day? It doesn't seem like a very long distance.
I know, and at the time, they didn't even have running shoes for women. I mean, that's how...
Wow. Because
I'm old, and people would stare at me. So I ran for skiing. I love to ski, so I ran to get in shape for skiing, and that was... And I felt I had a runner's high and everything. So I thought that a mile a day was all I needed.
And it worked for you, though.
It did. It gave me my little break in my little meditation every day.
That seems pretty reasonable for somebody who wants to get in shape to just tackle a small amount.
Yeah, it was doable. I mean, it was always doable. It wasn't like I see people now saying, "Oh, if I can't do an hour, I'll do nothing."
Right. I've heard that attitude myself, and I always fight against it. That, well, anything more than nothing is something.
Exactly.
So how did you go from being a math major and running 1 mile a day to making health and fitness a career?
Well, I had 3 children. That's why I started running marathons. And so I was home with 3 kids and knew I wanted a master's degree. I was a little bored being home, but working didn't seem plausible. So I went back to school, and I didn't want a master's in math or education, so I got one in exercise physiology. And I figured I'd never find a job. I figured I'd find jobs in math, but I did find a job as exercise physiologist at a Adventist medical center.
So let me back up a second. You went from running a mile a day to running marathons. Was this a gradual change, or did you just get a goal in mind that you wanted to run a marathon and then started training longer distance?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. So what was your first job in health and fitness? I
got my master's. I got my master's with the teaching assistantship at Portland State. So, that probably was my first job because it paid tuition and gave me a stipend. But then I went on at Adventist Medical Center, and we ran the wellness department. We did corporate wellness for companies and executive physicals. Not just executives of companies, but anybody off the street that was willing to pay. Mm-hmm. Was not funded by insurance. What I realized is we have sick care, not health care.
Right.
And we did a lot of fire departments also.
And you moved into a different sort of career after that?
Then after 15 years, I just was a little tired of it.
Right.
I think I felt like I was preaching to the choir, so I got a job with the .com that did online health assessments, which used my math and my exercise science, and we wrote and built online health assessments based on the stage a person was in. So if they were a smoker not ready to quit smoking, you just made sure they understood the risks.
Right.
Or if they were ready to quit, you gave them, but you didn't it was based on where they were. And then once we finished that, we thought we'd have these long-term careers going to companies and setting up the product, but it was the .com crash, and we all got laid off.
Oh.
So then I know. And so then I just I applied for every community college job and college jobs and got hired at community college and fell in love with the community college student. And then I knew it was all meant to be,
When you shifted a little bit and started working for the .com, did your health suffer?
Yes.
Because that's more sedentary.
It was
than what
totally
you were doing.
sedentary. Fortunately, my boss and I would walk at noon, but we had to be at work at 6 a.m., and I run in the mornings. It was really tough.
Oh, wow.
I had to make myself run in the afternoons. It was tough, but I kept it up, but it was
That's good.
really a struggle.
So from marathons, are you into any other kind of physical activity? Do you bike or swim or lift weights or anything like that?
Well, yes, I teach boot camps, but I got into teaching boot camp because I took boot camp, which is functional fitness and strength, and I have always biked. I mean, I've done 8 cycle organs.
Wow.
And a couple centuries, but I've always biked. I've sort of stopped biking, just of time-wise,
Right.
teaching boot camps and my running, and I have grandkids now, so.
Right. Well, you're still active, though.
Yeah.
You're still quite active. Do you still run marathons?
No, my last marathon was 2007. I'm running half marathons now.
Okay, that's still pretty good distance. I've never gone that far.
You could do it in your sleep.
If my knee holds up.
Yeah. I don't want to push it. That's why I've sort of stuck with halves. I don't need to run a marathon for my ego or anything anymore.
Well, and I'm pretty amazed by your resilience to have run for so many years and not really have any injuries. Do you have any knee problems or pain or anything?
Well, in my past, when I ran too much, I had stress fractures. I've had 1 knee surgery, but I know every day I think, fool them another day. I just, honestly, I don't understand it either. I just feel how lucky I am.
Well, part of it might be, and I'm not encouraging anybody wait, but part of it might be that you started running kind of later in life. You're in your 20s as opposed to, teens, like a lot of people do. And though you've run marathons, you haven't really strived for longer distance. Is that correct?
Correct. I've run 1 ultra, but I have run over 60 marathons.
Holy cow.
So there was a time in my life I was a little nuts.
What was your best time?
2:56.
Oh.
I know, I can't even run a mile that fast anymore.
Golly.
I know. I don't know if it's the same. It's not the same person.
Wow. That's amazing. So tell me about some of I know that you're quoted a lot and you have things that you give to your students to help inspire them and motivate them, things that they can take home and things besides let's just work out in this boot camp class. What are some of the things that you like to tell them or give them?
Well, one thing I teach online also, and those students, a lot of them struggle with exercise. I just think you should do something that's fun, that you enjoy. I am built to run, and I love to run. And to me it's, but I have students who hate to run, they should bike or do an elliptical or walk, So I don't think people should exercise for someone else or what someone tells them they should do. They need to have fun. That's number 1. And then set goals, but not make them so high. I always say 80-20 rule or 70-30 rule.
Which means what?
If you're successful 70% of the time, it's better than the all or nothing. If I can't exercise, I'll do nothing.
Yeah, in fact, I was telling somebody recently that he has a goal of riding a bike 50 miles, and he says he rarely has time to go out and ride for that long. And I said, well, just go ride as far as you can out in one direction and turn around and come back at the halfway point of your time and try to make a greater distance in the same amount of time, or do a certain distance that you've done before faster instead of trying to go longer and longer.
Exactly, yeah.
So do what you can, do the best that you can.
And then, like my boot camp students a lot of them have found out they like the motivation of being in a group. But there are also people, I call it the people principle. You need to find out if you really need to be alone, or whatever's missing in your life. If you're missing alone time, then exercise alone. If you're missing group time, then exercise in a group. Or if you have a spouse or a partner that you don't get time with, exercise with them. So you also make it, I call it the people principle.
I like that, the people principle.
And then I have other principles like the time principle. Pick a time of day that works for you.
Right.
I think the early morning has the least interruptions. Like in my 3 classes I teach, I have more absences in my later class.
Oh, really?
And I think it's just because there's more. It's a 10 o'clock class. At 6 a.m., what's going to get in your way?
Right.
And 7 a.m., but at 10, a lot of things get in the way.
My theory on that is I keep my clothes ready like a fireman, so when I step out of bed, I'm right into my clothes and then my shoes, and next thing I know, I'm dressed and out the door before I have time to wise up.
Exactly. That's my easy principle. Make it easy. Even if you sleep in your exercise clothes.
Yeah.
I've done that. I have to meet someone at 4 a.m. I just sleep in my exercise clothes. Yeah. Keep it easy. Keep exercise clothes in your car so you're never stuck. Like
I do that.
Yeah. See? So we both,
Just in case. You never know when you might need to work out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the other day Ted was doing something cool in his class, so I keep exercise clothes here so I could put them on. And
very cool.
But
so you have a relapse prevention rule, right?
I have a whole bunch of relapse prevention rules, and
what are they?
Well, one is the easy principle we just talked about. Keep exercise clothes in your car.
Okay.
Make it easy. Exercise at a gym. If you want a gym that's near your work or near your home, or figure out how to exercise at home. The time principle. Pick a time of day that works for you with the least interruptions too. Maybe your best time to exercise is right after work, but you have children and a wife, then you need to get up and do it in the morning.
Right.
The pleasure principle we talked about, make it fun. Let's see, the people principle we talked about, I call it the 1, 2, 3 rule. And then the variety principle, if you get bored with it, then change. Also, your body gets into that plateau, and so if you're not seeing results sometimes, but
right. That's why it's good to do other things, even if it's something you don't like.
Exactly.
For example, you know that I'm a cyclist. I love cycling, but I also do other things because it keeps me fresh. Like I'll swim every now and then. I don't particularly like swimming. I think it's really, really boring, but it's a great workout, and so I do it now and then.
That's great.
And it really helps. Then when I get back on my bike, I'm even more invigorated to ride. Yeah.
And then change. Like the biggest constant in life is change. And a lot of people quit exercising when their life changes. They have a baby, so they stop exercising, or their job changes. Like when I had that .com job and was sedentary.
Right.
I had to change my exercise, and so you have to. Or you get a knee problem, so you have to go to swimming or something. You just have to change. I've had, in the past, when I've had injuries, I've had to swim or do elliptical machines, which I really don't like. But I did. I made it enjoyable by doing high-intensity intervals or something.
Well, that's great that you found something else to do while you were injured. I've heard of people who injure a knee or something, and they stop doing all exercise because they're supposed to rest that joint.
Exactly. Exactly.
But then they rest everything, and they're missing the fact that they have other body parts that still need attention.
I mean, that's my other rule: is the only cure for a boot camp is more boot camp. Because I have students that get sore from a workout and then they don't come. And I say, no, it usually exercise heals you sometimes.
The best thing to do is keep moving. I have my students ride or walk slowly, moderately when they're sick.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They usually feel better within 10 minutes, and usually go longer than that. But even if they don't, then at least they did something.
That's my 10-minute rule. If you think you're sick or you're emotionally sick or something, go out for 10 minutes.
I stole your rule.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I probably stole it from somebody else. But I have that 10-minute rule. I even give my students full credit if they come 10 minutes to class, because
Terrific.
90% of the time they stay the whole hour. Because they thought they were sick. Once they start working out, they feel better. And then the other thing is when life gets tough, because when I worked at Adventist, I found people, their life they'd get divorced, or they'd lose their job, or some catastrophic thing would happen in their life, and they'd just quit doing everything, and get depressed. And so I say, when life gets tough, work harder and work out harder, so at least you don't lose your job and you don't lose your body, and then 2 out of 3 is not bad.
Right.
Exactly.
So
there's a lot of, I just feel like exercise has so many bonuses that even if you just go out for an easy walk, like like you do with your students.
Right. And in fact, speaking of that, my last interview with Hal Elrod, I was talking to him, and he said he was in a deep depression, and a friend of his asked him how often he exercises or what he does to exercise, and the guy says, I don't. I can't even get out of bed. And so the friend said, go for a run tomorrow morning. Wake up, go for a run, and that changed his life.
Wow.
Just like that.
Wow.
Yep. It thrust him out of his depression, and he continued to run and continued to feel better.
Yeah, it's been a constant in my life, and I've had some catastrophic things happen, but my running has kept me sort of grounded so that I at least have an anchor. And I think it kept me from beating my children.
we laugh, but I know the feeling.
I mean, now they're all adults and they exercise too, and that's another reason is to be a role model.
Well, you set a good example, yeah.
I mean, what do they say? The biggest predictor of children being active as adults is that they had parents that were active.
Do as they see you do, or they will do as they see you do, rather than what you say.
Exactly. I do think perspective. One of my favorite rules is having perspective in life, because some people do get, like, too much exercise is as bad as too little.
Right.
So I think everything in health, too much, it's the inverted U, like too much food, too little food. Too much sleep is as bad as too little sleep.
Right.
Too much exercise can be as bad as too little.
Well, I like to call that the Goldilocks Principle. Things should be just right. You know, the bed's too soft, the bed's too hard. There's the just right one.
Oh, I like that.
And the body wants things to be just right. Too little water, too much water, they're both bad for you. Too much exercise, too little. Too much food, too little food. It's all bad for you. You need just the right amount. The blood sugar needs to be within certain range. Same with the amount of sodium in your blood. All these things need to be within a certain range, and if you get too much or too little, it's bad. So that's the same with exercise.
Exactly. And learning to be mindful of your body, because too much for one person might be too little for someone else. So we all have to learn where our limits are.
Right.
And that's being mindful of yourself and trusting yourself. I always tell people, take some action, then relax, laugh, and enjoy life. And they always worry about, how can I lose fat on my stomach, or how can I lose my cankles, and I say, just do something and then relax, laugh, and enjoy life, because worrying about it's not going to help either.
Well, it actually makes it worse, because stress causes a release of cortisol, and cortisol is a hormone that causes belly fat to gather.
That's right. I forgot that. I had a student ask me that yesterday. I forgot to tell her that. That's great.
People often ask me how to lose belly fat. I tell them, let's look at the best way to gain belly fat, and that is eat a donut and stress out about it.
And then alcohol, because I know alcohol, I call that the VIP. When you drink alcohol, your body treats it like a VIP, and it metabolizes it over everything else.
You're exactly right.
So it goes into your belly.
Yep.
And there have been studies, people that drinking excessive alcohol got higher belly fat too.
And more liver fat. And the trouble is when the liver is preoccupied with clearing out the toxin that alcohol is, they can't do its normal job of regulating blood sugar. So the blood sugar goes down because you're using it, which makes you crave more carbohydrates, and that can come in the form of another drink or some sort of a food. And so you're putting even more calories and maybe alcohol, and certainly probably sugar, into your body just to balance your blood sugar. And if it's more alcohol, then you're prolonging how long it takes the liver to clear itself out.
Total vicious cycle. That's awesome. This is good.
I tell all my clients, I'm not a teetotaler. It's not a moralistic attitude. But if you want to lose fat, really, really, really reduce and limit and maybe even eliminate the amount of alcohol you drink. Some people really love their alcohol, but I've seen great changes from people who would have a glass of wine every night with dinner to just having it on weekends. I've seen them drop 5 pounds in a very short time just from making that one change.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that also goes with people that drink sugared soda. I've seen the same thing. I have seen my students drop 15 pounds in a term just from eliminating soda.
Yeah, because
Just that one thing.
100 calories a day is 10 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
I tell them even just one stair. If you just take a stair, a set of stairs is 1 pound in a year. So if you embrace stairs even more than that,
Yeah.
you know, I see kids wait for the elevator to go.
Don't get me started on elevators.
Okay, yeah, me too.
I have a whole post. It's more of a rant about elevators and escalators.
I know. It's. At my club, I always take the stairs. I'm just amazed seeing people work out all day and then wait for the elevator.
One of my favorite images is of the 24-hour fitness, which has stairs and escalators leading up to it, and a line of people going up the escalator.
No.
No one on the stairs.
No. Oh, gee. Yeah, at Adventist, I used to give a talk on exercise, and then I would run to the elevator and go block it so no one could take the elevator.
Good.
Because that used to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I should do it at 24-hour fitness.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I used to see people waiting in line for treadmills at a gym that was about a mile away from the beach in Southern California. And a beautiful, sunny Saturday, 72 degrees, perfect weather. They're waiting in line to walk in place and go nowhere indoors.
Oh.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and we all need, 14 hours at least a week outdoors? I heard that for kids.
I haven't heard that, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Kids need 14 hours outdoors a week, so I'm sure adults need it too.
I would like to know about your online class. There's a lot of attitudes from people who don't understand that you can have an online PE class. They basically think that you can just lie about your activity. What's your experience with online PE?
My experience has been amazing. I think if they do lie about it, I'm not going to waste my time worrying about it. They have to look at themselves in the mirror. But the majority, with the discussion questions, I ask them what they've learned about themselves and so forth. I think they make great strides because online I can individualize to make it work for their life. Like this term, I have a woman who just had a baby. So she when she joined the class, her baby was 2 weeks old. So, and then I have a man who hates exercise and weighs 350 pounds, who's married to a really active woman who exercises 12 hours a week. And
wow.
Trying to get them to figure out something they can do together. And you can't fake those kind of things. And they don't lie. Like sometimes they don't do their 3 hours a week they're supposed to do, and they tell me they didn't do it. And
wow.
they could have lied and said they did 4 hours or something, but they put down they did 2 hours. So
nice.
I as a whole, I think most of them are pretty honest and take it because they work full time, they live in Missouri, or their lives are just too busy.
Right. And I too teach online, as you know, and my experience is similar to yours, but also I like online PE because I feel that when people go to a class in person, they work out and they're under supervision, but then when the term ends, then they're done. And they don't often translate that into their own exercise routine.
That's true. That's such a good point.
There's
You're
too
right.
much of a break in their behavior or their routine where they're used to being at a classroom at a certain time on certain days, and then when that's over, then they're done. And it seems to be a more difficult shift for them to incorporate that into their life, whereas they're taking it online. They're expected to do it on their own from the beginning with some feedback, but when the term is over, they are still there with themselves and they still have the days and the times that they were doing the workout before. So I think it's an easier transition for longevity, for adherence to exercise being online. And
I totally agree.
They are able to be accountable to themselves as well as feedback with the instructor, but they're more accountable to themselves where they're not being forced to show up to a certain place at a certain time.
And I totally forgot that, so thank you for bringing that up. And a lot of them say in their comments on their final discussion when I say, what'd you learn about yourself, is that exact thing, that I've learned I can I'm empowered to exercise on my own.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that'll keep with them the rest of their lives. I mean, we are exercising because we exercise on our own.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right.
And so that's probably the most powerful of an online course, I think. Thanks for bringing it up, since I forgot it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Levi. I'm going to put your principles on the show notes page so everybody can see those.
Okay.
And maybe download and have a copy for their own, because I think they're great. I think they should be shared.
Okay. Thank you. I'm honored. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for taking time out of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Great stuff from Levi Query. Thank you, Levi, for taking some time out of your day to share with all of us and my listeners what you can do. She started out running a mile a day. A mile a day. She did that for 10 years before she started running any bigger distances. She started at age 22, ran a mile a day, and then after 10 years, she decided she needed a little bit more. She's really a great woman, a really good friend, a role model, the mother of a famous musician, and she has a really great personality, and uplifting, effervescent personality. I'm going to place her principles, Levi's principles, on my show notes page. You can find them at livefitlean.com/ep46, or you could go directly to livefitpodcast.com, and this will be episode 46, Levi Query. Now, I'd like to thank everybody who's already left a rating and review, but if you haven't, please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and leave an honest review for the show. I want to make it better. I want to please you. I want to give you what you want to hear, and I want to do the best I can. So if you leave me an honest review, I will have some feedback to do that by. Once again, thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the flip side.